This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Make it clear that the views expressed by our host are not considered the official stance of NBR views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Find us on the Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice. Find us on the web at mbradio.us. Join Terry with Tracer Rounds every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central to hear interviews with veteran artists, veteran business owners, and businesses that support veterans. Tune in to see if you're on target. Catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and MB Radio, giving veterans a voice.
Hi, welcome back to Tracer Rounds. I'm your host, Terry, and in the studio today with me, I have Matthew DeMaio of Condition 1 or C1 Nutrition, and I'm so excited to have him in the studio today. So we're going to talk a little bit first about his military service. I believe you were in the Marines, and I believe you did a couple deployments. So can you just tell us maybe what your occupational specialty was and maybe some of your assignments that you have if you're a reserve or active duty, some of that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Terry. Happy to be here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I served from 04 to 08 and again in 2009, 2010, a little broken time in between. I was both on the active and reserve side. I started active and then I went ahead into the reserves. Regular infantry guy. And I had my one deployment was actually over to Africa, Northeast Africa. So we were there for security and humanitarian purposes as well.
Tell me what you learned about your military service. So what was the big takeaway that you gained from your military service, would you say?
The big takeaway.
Yeah.
Big takeaway. It's hard to kind of distill it down into one, you know.
Oh, you can feel free to say as much as you need
you'll
to.
learn a lot. You'll learn a lot in the military. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn about working with people. I mean, of course, there's the cliche, discipline, all that good stuff. But I would say some of the biggest takeaways is you learn a lot about yourself and what you're capable of, and sometimes where your limits are, and how to work with them, you know, because there are times where you're pushed, you know, to kind of the end, whether it's sleep deprivation, hunger, just stress levels through the roof, and you kind of learn how to cope and how your body reacts and how your mind reacts to these different states. And for me, that translates into, you know, risk management with my business, knowing like kind of what I can fit on my shoulders and what's too much. So for me, yeah, those were some of the takeaways.
So for me, I would say, you know, it's a sense of community. I learned a sense of community with all the people that I served with. And, you know, we still talk today. So I learned that, you know, we have a small little community that we are a part of. You know, it's like a small little club, if you will. And, you know, and I always find that the world is smaller than I think it is, too, because I always find someone that knows someone I know, or that has served with someone that I know, or we've served in the same unit at the same time. Maybe we didn't know each other, but, you know, it's always just like there's always a connectivity back to someone in the service, in my opinion. And then I think the other thing that I learned too is a work ethic. You know, like
Yeah.
you said, you learn to push yourself, and sometimes you get pushed a lot further than you ever thought you could go. And you find out you can go a little bit more, you know, like the drill sergeant says, you know, like, come on, come on, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And you're like, no, I can't, no, I can't. And then you find out, yeah, I can. And he has just the belly button to push to make it happen
Yes,
too.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you nailed it with community. I definitely came out with way more friends than when I've gone in. And now it's kind of it really is a bit of a fraternity, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends now are former service members. I'll tell you a quick story about my buddy Brandon,
Yeah.
and we had met through a mutual friend, Rudy, and we were both kind of helping with the Recon Sniper Foundation, and from there we just ended up hanging out and becoming just really good friends. And we were sitting at my place in PA around the fire, just bullshitting. We're telling stories, boot camp stories.
Yeah.
And it turns out he and I went through boot camp at the exact same time, and he was one squad bay above me.
Oh, wow.
We had not known, you know?
Yeah.
So it really is a small world, and yet you meet people and you're like, oh, it's there. And they were either right before you or right after. So there's a lot of connective tissue there,
Yes.
that holds us all together.
I agree with that. I mean, so with MBR, where the whole mission set is giving veterans a voice. And so all these veterans that are hosts on shows, we're all connected in some which way. We're all different branches. We're all different, levels of service. Like some have served years and years and years. Some have served a few years. Some, were medically discharged because of, an injury they suffered. So it's, but no matter what branch or what length of service, we all find common ground. We all kind of speak the same language, even if it's Air Force, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, Navy. We all talk the same talk, but with a few different acronyms, I would say.
Yeah, the lingo's always there. The lingo, the attitude. It's all very, very similar. I agree.
Yeah. Well, so I wanted to tell you that I found your company on the Facebook website, and then obviously I went to your website, but I found you on Facebook, and I said, "Oh, I got to try those bars," because I was seeing the pictures of how thick they were, and I was like just amazed. I was like, "How in the world are you having a bar that's that thick?" So, and I also too. We didn't even talk about how you got started. I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah, no, please.
But I was so excited. So I read in there too that protein, obviously you need that for your bone health and things like that. But I like that. Well, I love that you put in there about osteoporosis, because I have osteoporosis and the doc said I had to have more protein. So I ordered your bars to get more protein in my diet. So I usually have a bar for breakfast, and it is a complete meal for me. Like it fills me up, and like I am not hungry until lunchtime, because it is thick enough that it takes care of business.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, that was the concept. The design was to make sure that it could sustain someone for a longer period of time. The genesis of Condition One and my company was me being deployed. I always had bars in my day pack or cargo pocket, and when I'd go on patrol, I'd have like one for carbohydrates, one for protein. And what I was doing is I'd have like a Cliff Bar, because it was fairly clean, organic ingredients, but like almost very little protein. And I'd have these big Metrics bars, and they were really chalky and kind of tough and dry. So I was eating two. And that's when I was like, man, where is there a bar for the fucking warfighter, right? And that was that moment. It passed, and I got home and did my thing for a little while, and then but it kind of stuck with me as an idea. So I finally started messing around in my kitchen. I ended up getting a hold of NSW nutritionist out in Coronado, and she helped me build the framework. She's like, this is the ingredients you should be using. Here are the macros. Here's how many calories, protein, carbs, etc. And from there, I started making them in my kitchen and sending my buddies in Afghanistan, getting feedback from them. And that's when I was like, all right, maybe there's something here. Maybe this is a viable idea.
How
So
long did it
that was the idea.
How long did it take you to develop that? I mean, like how many years? What are we talking time wise before you had this idea and you're like, huh, maybe I should look into that. So how long did it take you to actually like make the first bars?
I mean, we're talking, the idea stuck with me for over 4 years before I
4
even
years.
did anything, yeah. And then finally I was like, you know what, let me whip up some bars in my kitchen. And they were terrible, of course. I had no clue what I was doing. And then I was in the R&D phase for over another year and a half, trying to refine things, make them edible, make them decent. But that process led me down the path of talking to people about it. And that was like one of the greatest things, was talking to people what I was doing, even though I still had a full-time job. I still, it was just like just a little passion project I had on the side, which is what eventually somebody said, I know this nutritionist over in Coronado who's doing all the team guys' meal plans and whatnot. You should talk to her. And that was like the first big like breakthrough I had. I was like, oh, okay. And then once I was confident in like the product at being usable, that's when I sent it over to my buddies and got feedback from them. And then from there, had to think of a name. And I would say the actual process of going from, idea to having like this minimal viable product was 2.5 years almost. And that's a long time. It was also my first business. And, there's a lot of stumbling and learning and figuring things out, but it was a while.
Well, there's a lot to learn when you start your business. I mean, you got to think about taxes, you got to think about employees, you got to think about insurance, you got to think about all these things. So not only do you have to develop the product, you have to think about all these business aspects that are behind all of this operation. Like you can develop a product, but then you have to market it. You have to have people help you make it. You have to even if you contract it out, you still have to draw contracts up.
Oh my goodness. It was overwhelming at times. And there was so many. I have a million stories of things going completely sideways,
What would you say your biggest like aha moment was, like through the course of development and producing, the final products and whatever, but when you got to the moment you went, oh, I get it now, or like, oh man, I wish I would have known that beforehand?
Oh, I have a lot of those. I would say one of the biggest pivotal points from a product perspective was I got to visit this really big manufacturer, protein bar manufacturer, because I had the idea. I was like, okay, I was making them in a small bakery in Brooklyn, and then I went to like figure out how am I going to scale this. Luckily, by that time, I had a mentor. His name is Larry Dinkin, and he had created. I'm sure anybody's heard of Marie Callender, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Right? Big and Pop, right?
Yeah.
So he took that into retail, made a bunch of money, and I connected to him. Actually, just when I had gotten out of the Marine Corps, I was going to college and delivering computers for a friend of the family, and I delivered a computer to him in his big mansion.
Oh wow!
Set it up and blah blah blah, and he gave me a tip, said not to spend it on beer money, and I'm pretty sure I did. But anyway, I guess I had made an impression because my Uncle Jim said, "Hey, do you remember that kid Matt that delivered the computer? He's starting this business. You should talk to him." And he said, "Oh, really? You have him give me a call. I'd love to, kind of show him the ropes." So that was like my big, I guess, like break in a sense. Because he was just a wealth of information that I could draw from. So anyway, fast forward to when I'm going to this large protein bar manufacturer out in Pittsburgh. And the guy was like, "Hey, I want to give you a hand." And he kind of showed me, he gave me a bird's eye view of what the bar landscape had looked like. And the goal there was I had this rudimentary recipe, and I needed it to conform to his method of manufacturing. To give you an idea of scale, this guy could produce like 100,000 bars in 4 hours.
Oh,
right?
good grief!
Massive place, right?
Yeah.
Where right now, our max capacity at this place in Brooklyn was like 500 bars in a week.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah.
Quite a difference.
A very, very big difference. So, I saw this, and we had to make actually a lot of changes to the recipe that I was not happy with at all. It ended up being like a lot of the other bars out there. And that's when I took a step back and said, whoa, I don't think this is the route I want to go.
Yeah.
So what I did was I said, because he was like, oh, they got to sit on a shelf for a minimum of 2 years. He gave me all of these guidelines that I had to meet.
Yeah.
And the bar that he gave me, it tasted kind of like shit. I wasn't happy with it.
Yeah.
So that's when I took a step back. I said, you know what? I'm going to stay where I'm at right now at this small bakery in Brooklyn, and I'm just going to make them to order as orders come into my site.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if that was the right move at first, but what was validating were the comments. Anytime we do an event, I went to Summer Strong. It's an event held by Sornex, and the who's who of the fitness industry were there.
Oh, okay.
MLB guys, and they were all tasting my product. Like, whoa, this is like amazing.
Yeah, it's really different.
It was, yeah, and I was like, okay, so I have to figure out how to scale this. And that's when I reached out to my mentor. I was like, dude, we have a great product, but this is not scalable in its current stage. How do we do this? And that's when we started working on scaling it. And once we sorted that out, which was a whole process in and of itself, we're like, there's something here. And that was where the order, bake, ship concept came from. Like, we're just going to make this fresh. And
we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll find out more about how you decided to develop your product and market it. So hang on one second. We're going to hear Mr. Red, White, and Blue by Cafe Anderson.
It's the guts and it's the glory, 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's the line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey, from the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's the light. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on the front line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, pay the ultimate price. Oh. March in line, march in line. Hey. Hey.
Hi, welcome back to Tracer Rounds. You're on MBR, Military Broadcast Radio, giving veterans a voice. And tonight we're giving veteran Matt DeMaio with C1 Nutrition his voice. Welcome back to the show, Matt.
Thanks, Terry.
You're welcome. So we were talking before the break about how you decided to you decided not to mass produce your bars, but you decided that a smaller scale and more intimate type bakery situation was better for your product. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you were talking about?
Yes. To kind of just summarize what I was saying before, we had gone to this large co-packer, and we had realized we didn't want to be like everybody else, because this guy was producing, I mean, he had at least 20 brands under his umbrella of
Wow.
places or companies he made bars for, excuse me. So that's when we decided just to like take a step back. Let's not do that, and let's figure out how to scale what we're doing right now. Because what we were doing is just making bars as they came to our website. If you'd ordered from us, we'd make the bar and then we'd ship it out. And we decided that we could produce a much better quality product doing it that way. The only problem we had to solve was not the product, but with the process side. And how do we maintain that quality on a large scale? So that was to answer your question in the beginning, like what was your big aha moment? And that was it right there. And that's what we evolved into. And yeah, now we're not looking back now. So.
Well, I would say they ship pretty quick though, because I've placed 2 orders and they come back pretty quick. They don't seem to take very long. So even if you don't mass produce them like that one business does, where they're, they make a bunch all at one time and then they want you to shelve them for 2 years. These ones I think ship pretty quick and they taste very fresh. And I really enjoy the flavors. Can you tell us about how you're developing those different flavors and how many you have?
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we have 6 flavors in total, maybe 7 now. How do we develop flavors? It's kind of like, we'll have a discussion, I'll talk to my team. We're like, what do you think's good? What do you think's good? We'll throw some ideas out there and then we'll try to make them and then we'll eat them. And if they're good, we're like, that's great. And if not, we're like, no, let's pass on this one, So just recently, we just released the first of 3 coffee flavors that we developed. So we developed like a dark chocolate espresso, a French vanilla, and a hazelnut. And we, make it with real coffee. We brew the coffee. We then reduce the coffee into like this almost like a thickening, right? Because we're pulling the moisture out, and then we use that in our bars. And that was kind of a trial and everything. We had the idea. I was like, dude, should we make a coffee bar? Like, I love coffee. I eat my bars in the morning with some coffee. Let's make a coffee flavored bar. And as we started developing them, they turned out to be pretty good. So we decided to go ahead and run with that. And then like right now, next week, we're going to be releasing our pumpkin spice, which we do, seasonally, like the basic flavor, right? Everybody's got to have a pumpkin spice every year. And then some of the other flavors, like the lemon poppy seed, that was inspired by the lemon poppy seed pound cake in the MREs, which was like my favorite dessert when I got an MRE. There we go. Yeah.
If it shows up, I have a hard time making it show, but that's lemon poppy seed right there. And I don't know if you can see how thick they are. Oh man, it's not, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah. It's, I would say, what is that? Like 3/4 or an inch thick?
Yeah. They're stout bars. I mean, it's really, it's a meal replacement. That's what they are. They're really designed to be a meal replacement.
And I say they work that way very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
They're really good. The only one I didn't get to try is the coffee, and I'm so disappointed because it says sold out, and I was like, darn it, I missed it.
It's a limited flavor. We're going to bring it back.
Okay.
Because right now we're getting a lot of orders and we're kind of capped, and we can't have all of our flavors all at once. So we have to kind of interchange them just because, we're getting a lot of volume. So we're going to be bringing that back because it was so well received. I was really, really, really happy to see that a lot of people were enjoying it. But it's coming back, so don't worry. And I will make sure I send you some.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm so excited. Yeah. I am so, like I said, I ordered the sample pack because I had to try everything. And so I've tried the blueberry ginger.
Oh, yeah.
Lemon poppy seed and the apple spice.
Yep, the apple cinnamon.
Yeah, apple cinnamon. Yep. So good. Like that, I mean, that tastes almost like you're eating an apple. I mean, like the flavor is so intense apple that it's almost like eating an apple, really.
Thank you. What's your favorite flavor?
I don't have one because I love them all. But I like the chocolate. Is it chocolate coconut?
Yeah, that chocolate coconut.
That tastes like a brownie. That's amazing.
Oh, I love hearing that. Thank you.
Yes, I really, really like it. They're all really good. So how many years now have you been doing it? Did you say? Did I miss it?
Yeah, no, I didn't say it. So I've been at this about 8 years now.
Oh wow, 8 years.
Talking from like in the beginning when I was just part-time. I've been full-time now for about 7 years.
Oh wow.
Oh, excuse me. No, excuse me. I've been full-time 5 years. Sorry. Yeah, 2019 I went full-time.
Wow. Yeah. So is your office, is it in Pennsylvania or is it somewhere else?
No, it's
I swear.
Yeah, so we produce out of Connecticut.
Okay.
We're in Connecticut. That's where my production facility is. And then I'm either in Long Island or remote.
Nice.
Yeah, one of the two.
Very cool.
Predominantly in Long Island, New York.
Oh wow. You don't really have the Long Island accent. Are you from that area?
I'm not. Well, I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I lived there till I joined the Marine Corps. I guess I don't have that thick New York, New Jersey accent. Maybe coffee. I can.
There you go. Now I hear it. I got it.
New York.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you said, I read on your little bio that your family would send you a bunch of bars. Like you said, you would keep them in your pack and eat them while you're out on patrol or a mission or whatever, so that when you couldn't get a meal, you could get something real quick to give you energy. Yep. And so, having said that, I mean, like, how do you go from Marine to baker?
Oh. Yeah,
because you're eating these bars and then you're developing this idea and your concept. Did you cook and bake before, or did your mom and she's like, "Hey, come in here and help me and mix this stuff up for me"? What caused, or what was the emphasis behind you being a baker and these bars?
I'm not a baker by trade. I really have never been really a baker. I did cook when I was a little with my grandmother, my nonna. So I grew up Italian, 3-family house with my grandparents, and I would always cook with my grandmother. But I can't say I've ever had a passion for baking or for cooking. I would say I've always had a passion for tinkering and creating. And that was the spark that got me in the kitchen, tinkering, taking notes, reading about recipes. So it was, the drive to create something that sparked it. As a kid, I'd draw, I'd do lots of other things, like building go-karts, things like that. So I always want to make and build.
Well, I think the military helps that too, because they tell you can do anything. And so when you have these ideas, then, you're like, yeah, I can do anything. I'm, the Army or the Marines or whoever told me I could, so I will, and I do.
Yes. You definitely come out a little more tenacious, I'd say.
Yes, a little more Spitfire or spunk, maybe.
Yeah. I guess maybe talking about my transition. I think like a lot of veterans post-service was a bit of a challenge, finding my place, finding my passion. This happened to be it. But I definitely had a bit of a time where I floated from thing to thing, trying to find what it was that I really wanted to do post-service. Because, it's been talked about a lot now, but the loss of identity really is a real thing.
It
You know,
is.
going from, hey, I'm like Sergeant DeMaio and I have this, and, I was very proud of what I was part of, to, what do you do? Oh, I'm in school right now. I'm studying business. I'm doing real estate. I'm a stagehand. I had a million different things that I did post-service, and some of it were cool at times. Like being a stagehand, I got to work for MTV, and there's like cool stuff there.
Nice.
Not even close to like I'm a fucking Marine, right?
Yeah.
It didn't carry the same weight, and that leaves you. But this for me has been that next thing that has, kept me very much attentive, motivated. There's plenty of bullshit you got to deal with too, but it's give me that pride, that sense of purpose again.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the podcasters, we talk about that all the time, like they're kind of lost their connection to the service, and they felt kind of isolated, and after they get done with service, it's like, what's next? Like, what's my purpose? Like in the military service, you have a purpose. At least that's what they tell you. You have a purpose, and you have a mission, and you have a mission set that you have to do. And then when you get out, you're like, okay, now what do I do? Like, I was in charge of $1 million equipment. I was in charge of, all these lives. I was in charge of this or that. And now I'm pushing a broom, or now I'm pushing a piece of paper, or setting up a stage, or hooking a computer up. Like, it's like you say, there's a little bit of a letdown phase where you're just kind of like, is this it? Is this what I'm supposed to do? But I will tell you that everything you've done has gotten you to the place you are right now. Because if you wouldn't have done those different tasks and those different things, you wouldn't have found the path that you're on right now, because all those things led to your success where you are right now, I think.
I completely agree with that perspective and philosophy. Understanding that everything does have a purpose and a reason, even when moments really suck bad. There's a term, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called amor fati, right? Mm-hmm. It's a Stoic term. It's Latin for love your fate. Which kind of, good and bad for the most part is only a perspective that we have about something happening to us. And usually when you pan out really why, when you look back on things, they're usually never really as bad as you thought they were in that moment.
Yeah.
And when it's great, it's great. When it's great, you're generally happy because you have this perspective on this thing that's happening to me right now. So the idea is that even the bad things will contribute to your life in a positive way, right? Yes. Whether you're, everything that sucks makes you better in some way, whether it's physical or mental, right? It's going to make you better. Therefore, you should just love it anyway.
Well, they always tell you to fall forward. So, you're not always going to have success the first go around, or maybe not even the second go around, but you fall forward because you learned from that.
You're learning. You're continuously learning.
You learn from that experience, because lessons sometimes are hard, but they're good lessons. And you either what you don't want to do again, or what you want to do more of, but just maybe in a different proportion or a different circumstance, when to use it or when not to use it. So you learn a lot from your, and I wouldn't call them failures, but your trials and errors. I mean, like maybe, it's all lessons. I think some are hard, but they're all good for us in some way or the other, because they put us where we are now.
Yeah. I mean, I've had this thought in my own head, like, what would happen if I didn't have condition 1? Not to, overgrandize what I do. I make granola for a living, but, it's still something I enjoy and I feel good about. But like, hey, what would happen if I didn't have this? And I've had that thought, and I've had that conversation with Larry, my mentor. And I can only think like, wow, I have learned so much over these years of doing it. I'm very confident in myself as a business person now to spin up another business in a fraction of the time it took me to do condition 1. You know,
Right.
so it's like it's never over. And to tell you a story about my mentor a little bit,
Yeah.
he had failed 3 times before he hit with Marie Callender. He had tried Ratner's. He had going to local grocery stores around Long Island. He did another company that's not coming to mind right now. And then he did Benihana.
Oh, okay.
A lot of quality control issues, and it got pulled from the supermarket shelves. And then he did Marie Callender, and he ended up selling Marie Callender in 1992 to ConAgra for, it was a $140 million exit.
Wow.
You know, big exit.
Yeah.
But it took him 3 failures to get to that point. You know, he had to experience the QC failures with Benihana to make sure that didn't happen with Marie Callender. He had to, you know, experience the failures that he had with Ratner's, and he took all of that knowledge and then finally applied it to his final company, and it just blew up.
Yeah.
You know, and if he had stopped, Marie Callender would have never happened. That just, you know.
And we'd all be disappointed because I love some Marie Callender's.
Right,
Love
yeah.
the restaurant and the products in the store. So yeah, so I'm glad he was successful. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to Linwood Presley King, and he is with the Heroine, but he's going to sing the Marine hymn for you.
Fantastic.
So today, in honor of the Marine Corps birthday, I decided to wear my BCGs for y'all. Those of you who don't know, it stands for birth control glasses, Marine Corps issue. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for rights and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Our flags unfurled in every breeze, from dawn to setting sun. We are fighting every time and place where we can take a gun. In the snow of far off northern lands to the sunny tropic scenes, you will find us always on the job, United States Marines. So here's out to you, to our Corps, which we are proud to serve. Many a strife we fought for life and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy were to look on heaven's seas, they will find the streets all guarded by United States Marines. I said if the Army and the Navy were to look on heaven's seas, they will find the streets all guarded by United States Marines. They will find the streets all guarded by United States Marines. Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah.
Welcome back to Tracer Rounds. I'm Terry, your host, and in studio today with me, I have Matt DeMaio, and he is with Condition 1 or C1 Nutrition. And if you haven't tried the bars, I highly suggest them. My personal recommendation, okay? Because I eat one every morning for breakfast, and that's what I live on until it's lunchtime. And I tell you what, they satisfy for that whole time period and sometimes beyond, because sometimes my day doesn't end at lunch. It's going to keep going. So those things keep me going. And I really appreciate the love and care that goes into those bars, because they're taking care of me. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I guess that was an amazing rendition of the Marine Corps hymn.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, he's a Marine veteran, and he's got a band called the Heroine. He's a Texas boy too. And he recorded that, just on the fly, I guess. And he did it for the birthday. So obviously it's not the Marine Corps birthday yet, But
no, it's right around the corner though.
it is. It is. So I thought it was fitting since you have service in the Marines, and he's that connectivity there with him. But I love that rendition. It's a little out there, but I love it.
That was great. I was feeling it. That was really good.
Yep.
Yeah, he's in Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
San Antonio.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He's been on the show before, and I always thought he was a little bit of a metal rocker, a little bit. And he said, "Oh no, I'm Texas rock." I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry, Texas rock, got it." But he's got a lot of really interesting videos out there that I tend to play from time to time on the show, and then his band, The Heroine, has some really good videos and songs as well.
That's awesome. My girlfriend lives in Texas. She's in Austin. I was just there 2 weeks ago. We went and saw Alice Cooper and oh geez, why am I forgetting his name? I just saw Rob Zombie.
Seriously,
Yeah,
wow!
Great show.
Does Alice Cooper really still like put on like a band
yeah, he
show?
does. He still rocks. He was up there killing it. I mean, I was so impressed on how well that guy can put on a show. And I believe he's 76.
I think so. He's got to be at
in
least
his late 70s.
Yeah.
And I mean, you couldn't tell. He was just up there owning the stage. Phenomenal show.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would like to see him sometime. I'm in Texas. I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth area.
Okay. I have friends in Dallas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, so I forget where we left off with our conversation, but we were talking about your mentor, Larry, and about how he did the Marie calendars, how he kind of fell forward with his different business opportunities, and then how he finally brought everything he learned to fruition when he did Marie calendars.
Yeah, I think we're talking about how lessons are important. There's no on the subject of amor fati.
Yes.
Just appreciating, regardless, good or bad. It's always something. You can always pull something useful out of almost any situation.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't seem positive at the time, because it kind of, as you said earlier, it kind of sucks,
Yeah.
or the lesson's kind of hard. You thought you had the perfect recipe, and then you tasted it and you went, "Nope, that isn't what I was thinking." Nope. Yeah. Or whatever the case may be. Yeah. There's always a lesson sometimes that is harder to take than others, obviously. But
Yes.
I think you've refined your lessons learned and created a really great product.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
But so I wanted to talk about, I know that you, your business gives back. So how do you give back with your business? I know you give to charity that supports veterans.
Yeah. So there's a few charities I'm involved with. We donate monetarily, profits. And then I also donate my time to them as well. Recon Sniper Foundation is one, and the second that I love is and this one's I can't say enough good things about, is Force Blue, which it takes veteran combat divers and former special operators. I was not special operations at all. However, I was a diver.
Okay.
Diver before I went into the Marine Corps. A good buddy of mine, Rudy Reyes, is the founder or co-founder of the nonprofit, and it repurposes combat divers for ocean conservation.
Oh,
So
wow.
I went through the program. I'm now a assistant scientific diver. I'm in the process of becoming a master diver shortly.
Wow.
And it's twofold. One, we talked about restoring purpose. I cannot think of a greater purpose than restoring the ocean's health. And I was kind of a skeptic going into that with the whole climate thing and this and that. And you get to spend a lot of time with actual marine biologists and real scientists. And you see for yourself, what's happening with our oceans, and there's problems there, and there's problems that could be solved though, too. So you get that sense of purpose, and then you get to connect with your brothers. You get jocked up, you put your gear on, you get in the water, you have a mission, right?
Yeah.
And you have that camaraderie, and it's like you're back in again, so then like you're just connecting as veterans and as brothers at that point.
Yeah.
Doing this really cool mission. And we've done so many rad things. We've done sea turtle missions where we're going and catching sea turtles. Literally, like you have to jump off a boat onto their back and get them out of the water, and then you get them on the boat, and the marine biologists are on the boat, and you're taking blood and learning about the animals. And some of them you see, they are sick. There's sicknesses happening, and then you bring them back to the rehabilitation center. We've done ocean cleanups. We've done coral transplanting. You learn about transplanting coral because there was a lot of bleaching happening off the coast of Florida and in the Florida Keys with a lot of corals dying. And we actually planted an entire football field of coral off the coast of Florida with the Frost Center. So it just, really amazing stuff. That's one of my favorite nonprofits that I volunteer for. Because it's just all encompassing. You're connecting with your brothers. It's so therapeutic to hang with your brother veterans, you know what I mean? Or sisters, and to be a part of something, to have that belonging again.
Yeah. So
Force Blue, forceblueteam.org, teamforceblue.org, if you want to check them out and give them a ring. I can't say enough good things about them.
That's awesome. So how often do you go diving? I mean, is it is it just like every so often they need something, so that's when you go, or is it like a planned dive every month, or how does that work out?
It's not every month, but I mean, they're doing they are doing missions on a monthly basis. We had a snail mission. We had an oyster cleanup that I couldn't be a part of, but they went and did it. They just did 2 weeks ago another turtle mission. So they're constantly, in rotation. Does that answer your question?
It does. But so diving always worries me. I mean, I love the water and I don't have any problem swimming, but diving so deep, and wearing the weight belts and getting yourself down there, because in my pool, I can't even get to the bottom and stay there. So I know there's a skill and there's some kind of stuff you have to know, but it's always some big mystery to me how divers are able to stay down as long as they do. I know they have air tanks and all that. I get it, but there's a skill and a craft to being a diver, isn't there?
I'd say there's a skill. I think the most important thing above anything is water competency. And being able to just maintain a calm demeanor underwater. Yeah. And there are moments, and it actually just happened with me on a dive recently, where sometimes you can get a little funky under the water. It was the dive we were on. We were doing the USS Spiegel, which is it's off the coast of Florida, off Key Largo. Okay. And the max depth is, I believe, 130 feet. Average depth, you're depending upon where you are on the wreck, 110. And it was the first dive of many that we were doing. I was with my buddy Rudy and another Marine, George, who's actually a master diver, a dive master. Mm-hmm. Amazing guy. And we had to fight a current to get down, and I didn't have really time to acclimate. I jumped right into this really big dive. And going down, I'm fighting the current, and I'm getting down, and now I'm deep, and I'm looking at my air consumption rate. Yeah. And it was really high. I was like, all right, Matt, relax. And I'm trying to relax myself. And then we get down into the wreck. Yeah. And it's murky. We're going in the wreck, and I can feel myself getting a little anxious. And I'm getting anxious because my air consumption rate is not going down. And I realize we gotta be down here for a while. Yeah. I got to go back up. I got to do a decompression stop and hang out for a couple minutes before I, surface, so I don't get the bends. And that was, it was the worries were compounding. Right? Yeah, I bet. And it took everything for me to dude, just, you can breathe, you have air, relax. You've been through here, you've been here before. And finally, I chilled out a little bit, but I had to talk myself kind of back from, wanting to be hey guys, I kind of want to get out of here. Right. And there's so many redundancies in place. God forbid somebody does run out of air. You have a second, your buddy, you can buddy breathe. Like there's never really a real reason to panic as long as you just kind of talk to yourself and tell yourself you're okay. And there's little things that happen when you're diving. Your mouth will get dry because you're breathing air and that feels really uncomfortable. And sometimes you can think you're not breathing because your mouth is so dry. Like there's little things that happen that you just, if you can stay calm, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean that would be the thing, is learning how to just relax and stay calm, because if you are a person that worries and panics, probably not the best situation for you to be underwater where you're down so many feet and you've got to, make time to go up and go down and, like time everything out. I think that would probably be not the best situation for somebody that's a little uneasy about
Being in the
the
water.
unknown.
But I would say anyone can really dive and anyone can acclimate themselves to these uncomfortable situations. I mean, to give you an example, I don't like heights. I've never liked heights. Anytime we had to do any type of fast roping in the Marine Corps, I didn't like it. But eventually you do it enough and you're like, all right, whatever, it's going to suck.
Here we go anyway.
Here we go, whatever. With the water, though, I think you can build up and you can really kind of, I don't want to use the word tolerance, but it gets much more relaxing. The tension goes away. The more familiar you get with it, the more confident you get with it, because you will, the more you do it, become more confident. And eventually it's cool, and if you go for a block without diving for a little while, like I have, you may need like that one acclimation dive to kind of, pull yourself back in, because on the second dive, we went back down to the Spiegel again and I was completely fine. Like there was not even one intrusive or worry. I was totally relaxed. You just need to be able to talk yourself through it sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's true of anything that's kind of, that puts you out there, that's a little scary, or, you just have to, it's all about what you tell yourself. You just have to make sure that you're giving yourself good self-talk and you're not like making yourself worse.
Exactly.
What's your coolest dive? What would you say is your coolest?
We just did a dive. The Spiegel was pretty impressive because of the scale, how deep we were, how big it was. We were going inside the wreck, exploring the wreck, full on like penetration dives. Really cool.
Yeah.
But I would say the coolest, we also did a shark dive too, where we were diving with a whole bunch of sharks, the three of us, and that was just amazing. I mean, we had silk sharks, mostly lemon sharks, which are big, but they're pretty like chill. They looked kind of scary, and like when I first got in the water and I saw the first shark, I was a little uneasy.
Yeah, for sure.
But they'll come right up to you and you just put your hand out and guide it away. And after that, it was just cool. We had one bull shark come up and that was a little like, okay, that's a bull shark. Like, they stopped feeding them because there was the dive master was, had chum and they were attracting sharks. At one point there was probably 15 sharks all around us.
Yikes.
Like all around us, and there were like 13 footers, like big sharks, but it was so cool. That was probably the coolest dive I had done.
It sounds pretty neat. It sounds a little scary, but it sounds pretty neat too. We've got probably just about 5 minutes left. So tell me anything that you want to tell me, or tell me what we didn't talk about with your business. Just give us any updates, or just kind of put anything out there that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about, because I want to make sure you get the last word in.
I appreciate that. We covered it all. I'm glad. Thank you for letting me talk about Condition 1 and my journey. It's been an amazing experience so far. I'm just been really grateful that I'm able to do what I'm doing, and I'm able to serve such an amazing community of people that I serve. Eternally grateful for that. We have amazing community. Thank you for having me and letting me tell my story.
Well, I'm just so thankful you said yes, because when I talked to the first person that I got in contact with, they're like, well, I don't know. What's this about? What is it? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I just want to talk to him. That's all. I promise I'll be nice.
Was that Daniela?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, she's always kind of like a gatekeeper. But
yeah, and I appreciate that, because you need one. Because sometimes, you get people that ask you for things and you're like, yeah, no.
We do get a lot of requests. We do get a lot of requests for bars and stuff like that. But I love coming on and being able to talk and whatnot. So this has been a blast.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, because like I said, I really, my whole purpose is to give veterans a voice and to support their businesses. And I try to always, anybody I interview, I try to buy something of theirs or taste it or use it, so that I know that I'm speaking from a point of reference that I know. And I can tell you, like, I ordered one box and I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. I'm going to need a second one now, because I like these so much. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Well, I'm going to send you some coffee for sure.
Oh, thank you. I'm about ready to order another box, because I only have my lemon one left, because I had the apple one. There we go. I got it.
There we go.
Yeah, I had the apple one yesterday. So no, this morning I had the apple one, and so then I have the lemon for tomorrow.
Awesome.
But so I want everyone to know that you can find you on Facebook. You can find Go Condition One on the on the website that's I put there. And where else can they find you? Anywhere else, or do you have?
Yeah,
any,
we're on
like...
Instagram. We're on Instagram.
Okay.
Go Condition One on Instagram. Go Condition One on Facebook. Those are the two primary platforms that we're on. And then our website, gocondition1.com.
Very nice. Well, I want to thank you so much for being my guest today and telling your story, because like I said, I was intrigued when I looked through the website and then I tasted the bars. I'm like, I got to know more. I got to hear more. I got to know more. So, and I got the bonus and the benefit of hearing about the dives, because who knew?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I was happy to share.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Time.
Well, I think that just about wraps up our time. I know we've got another show after ours. So I want to welcome everybody back next week at 7 p.m. Central, back to MBR, where we're giving veterans a voice. And today we gave a voice to Matt DeMaio with Condition One Nutrition. And I thank you for what you do. And I thank you for the support you're giving back to veterans. And so we want to support your business. So everybody go buy a box, buy a sample box, because then you get to try everything.
Thanks so much, Terry.
All right. Well, you have a good evening, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
You too. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.